All right, all right. Well, hello and welcome to Wake Up to Your Life Magic. We have another great episode in store for you as we talk about conversations we're not having in business that will help us to elevate the conversation and elevate our leadership. I want to remind you our podcast also has a book, wakeuptoyourlifemagic.com, where you can learn more about the journey. And today I'm excited because I have with me Michael D. Aleo, who I am very excited. He works in sales, education, consulting, and leadership. Welcome, Michael.
Thanks very much for having me, Helmut. Glad to be here.
Absolutely, Michael. Tell the audience a little bit about what you do for your clients.
Sure. So my role involves working with companies across a really broad range of industries that want to improve sales performance. And we help them do that by really helping them understand their needs and uncover gaps and opportunities to improve, both from a skill set standpoint for sales reps, managers, customer success managers, but really the foundational mindset and approach that can make them not only more impactful to their own customers and clients, but really change the way they view themselves and their roles as a sales manager, a sales representative, and how they're perceived by their customers in the external world, really centered around creating positive change in their activities and really the value they bring to not just themselves and their peers, but customers and the kind of the broader world, really, for that matter.
Meaning the salespeople themselves.
Right. Changing themselves into a differentiator to create a competitive advantage and improve performance for themselves and their company, but also really make an impact on the broader profession of sales, how customers view them, and use it as an opportunity to develop themselves, to make themselves into a competitive differentiator beyond just their product or the market in which they operate.
Gotcha. So do you wind up developing the salespeople themselves, like who they are, like their character? Their is that the kind of focus you're looking
Yes, I
at?
mean, so I work as a certified partner of Aslan Sales Training. I'm based in Boston, but it's an international company based in your area in Atlanta. And really, the purpose is, and it translates to the names of some of our flagship programs, is really other-centered selling. And the idea
Mhm.
is that when we take an other-centered approach, not just in selling, but in our personal lives, interactions with people, it really changes the nature of the interaction. People are more receptive to understanding our point of view. We understand them better. So we really teach how becoming a better salesperson and serving your customers, caring more about them, and being committed to going above and beyond to meet their needs. That can be translated to your everyday life. It could be personal relationships. It could be working with strangers, anyone you interact with, really. So it's not just about selling. It's about kind of fulfilling ourselves, our potential as people, and realizing how downstream from that is going to be increased performance for yourself in your professional life and just better experiences for your customers as well.
Yeah. And in your personal life, right? Because it's not
Yeah,
about me,
absolutely.
it's about you. It's about you.
Right, exactly. We teach a concept called taking the trip, and it states that you don't always have to agree with everyone else's position, but until they feel that they're validated, they're heard, they're understood, and you're hearing what they're saying, they really don't care too much what you have to offer and say yourself. So we're not asking people to always agree with anyone, and we don't say the customer's always right, that kind of idiom. But essentially, the idea is that if we can be committed to understanding other people better and what's important to them, we can help them solve problems and be more effective. And it'll make just our lives and our work much more enjoyable and fulfilling than other approaches.
Yeah. And if you think about it too, unless you get past that, right, them feeling heard, seen, loved, known, you really can't get to the part where you help them with something else, or right, you get to
Right.
support them. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
I
really
see
around
that.
just building receptivity, because you think about a situation where you have an unreceptive customer. You might have the best service or product or solution in the world, but if they're not receptive from hearing from you, you're probably not going to earn that business. At the same time, you actually might be the best solution for them, but if they're not open to hearing from you, they might select someone else to work with that's not as good for them in the long haul. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation. So we focus on building receptivity and then maintain that sort of other-centered mentality throughout a sales process.
Totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. Tell me a little bit, Michael, for those who are listening, as you think about your career. You're empowering people to go out there and promote and really enroll people, right, in what they're selling, what they're providing their clients with. Tell me a story about something that maybe shifted in your life, that made you sort of see things a little differently, that our audience can kind of learn from your story.
Yeah, I think more than anything for me, it's been kind of really a journey. I mean, like all salespeople, I've had ups and downs, like year to year, quarter to quarter, and so forth. But I've seen a lot of different roles from being essentially an inside sales or BDR type person 20 plus years ago to strategic account management and business development to working with SMB accounts across a range of industries. And because a lot of my career has been in kind of the market research, data, information industry, I've gotten exposure to a wide range of end clients. So I've really seen a lot. But I got to a point where reaching not just mid career, but middle age as well. I kind of thought about what do I want to do long term? What else can I accomplish? And really wanted to be in a position where I could, and I felt confident enough at a point in my career that I could use my knowledge, my experience, my wins, my losses, what I've done well and not done well to help other people be more effective. But I've also been the recipient of a lot of sales coaching and training throughout my career, some better than others, some that, well, frankly, maybe feel like I don't want to be a salesperson. But if you want me to do it this way, I don't want to do this anymore. But fortunately, I've gotten a lot of great training and been mentored by a lot of great people as well. But I wanted to find a company to work with that does things the right way. And I talked to a number of companies, a lot of good ones out there, but people at Aslan and their philosophy, and I think what's driven their success for almost 30 years now, is just changing the way sales is approached. I felt comfortable if I was going to be selling and delivering sales training and coaching, I had to believe in what it was. I couldn't just sell it because this is what they offer. I want to make sure that I understood it. And they did a great job in the interview process, making sure that I, as a potential partner of them, understood their values, where they wanted to be, what their purpose was. And I really believe in what they do as a company and want to make sure it was a good fit. So when I'm training and developing other people, I really stand behind and mean what I'm teaching. I'm not just going through the motions.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So tell me, as you think about the kind of world you're creating, meaning if you think about, 5 years from now, the impact of what you're doing and what you're striving to see in the world and in the clients that you have, what is it that your goal is, your vision for the work and the impact you'd have?
Yeah, I mean, I want to continue to hear from people that I've supported personally and seeing how it's impacted their growth and say, Michael, I worked with you 4 years ago, and I still leverage all the things you taught me. It really made a real difference in my career. I've got a promotion now, or I've gone into a more senior role in a company or another company for that matter. And what you've taught me is becoming a foundation and a critical piece, not necessarily the only piece, but a big piece of what I use every day, whether it be a sales manager leading other people or a rep that wants to refine their skills, that they remember me, they remember Aslan and the impact it had on them and their career. And then maybe somewhere down the line, they want to do what I'm doing as well. That would be, I think, an ideal goal for me in terms of where I want to be.
Yeah. Well, when you keep getting that feedback, and that's the kind of change that you're creating, that's exactly what we want to do, right? Create meaningful change in others that makes them successful.
Exactly.
That's a beautiful thing. That's a great vision. And I think that's a servant leader's attitude, right? It says
Yeah, that's
we
a term we
serve.
use. Yep, exactly. That's a term we use frequently.
So as we think about, and this is a kind of an interesting conversation around, we have the beautiful AI, right? Such a great topic right now as we think about AI for training, AI for learning, AI for selling, AI for marketing, right? And in many categories, the world is shifting, and that's good and it's challenging. And as I think about that, there are so many areas in our society that we have questions about. What will we do with AI, and how does that what's not AI about our human experience is our connection, um, our morality and our kindness, right, towards our neighbors, whatever spiritual grounding you have, or just simply a belief in loving one another. And I'm curious about how you feel like these things play into the sales process, right? As we think about selling, right, and serving one another, how do you think, what do you think AI may do and shift in the way that we sell?
That's a great question, and I think it presents a lot of opportunities, but understandably, it's causing a lot of uneasiness for not people in sales, but in a lot of roles that feel they might be replaced by AI. But I think when used and leveraged properly, and it's of course an evolving technology or phenomenon, people that embrace it as a tool to supplement and improve what they're doing can make a real difference. As opposed to those that are overly reliant on it can have a negative effect. I think from a sales and marketing standpoint, one thing it can do is really streamline and provide efficiencies in terms of researching prospects, researching companies. You can summarize a public company's 10K filing or even a private company's website a lot faster than you could do on your own and draw relevant insights. I mean, I think when prospecting and researching companies and people, it's a sweet spot between efficiency and effectiveness. You don't want to do too much where you're paralyzed and it takes you an hour to write every email, but you don't want it to be too generalized either. And I think that people are so aware and conscious of AI now that they can tell when even a LinkedIn comment is not a real person or an email is super generic. So I think that it's a tool to help one be better prepared. It can also be helpful in sending out marketing emails at scale and so forth. But I think when it comes to a sales email, it's really different than a marketing email. I think it needs to be more personalized, be more human. So it's a combination, I think, of using it to, to help you research, understand your buyer, their needs, and from an efficiency standpoint in terms of outreach and things like that, or even summarizing meetings. The AI tools built into uh, Zoom or MS Teams or other technologies, conversational intelligence tools can be great. It can summarize meetings, but you can't get lazy where you're so overly reliant on it that well, I know this tool is taking notes for me in this meeting, so I don't need to pay attention or ask questions. I'll just come back after the fact and be, oh, he said that. But you lose AI, at least for now, will never give you a real context and that human connection. So it can be helpful. I think on the training side of things, at Aslan, we've developed a new tool called Aslan Plus that is a coaching, AI powered coaching and reinforcement tool where you can create real life scenarios and personas to work with and continue to practice on one's own time after receiving training. So we use it as a way to help reinforce it. But even that, in that case, we still encourage one-on-one coaching, reinforcement as well. We're not saying, come to a training session, then we'll give you this AI tool and never talk to us again. It's very powerful. It can from a scheduling standpoint, from a reinforcement standpoint, it can be great. But again, it's supplementary and complementary to human work. It's not replacing what we do.
Yeah, it almost seems like it's an enhancement tool, right? So, like, what I got from that is that there are parts of the conversation and the human interaction that it's fine if it's automated, whether it's the email, right? Whether it's email marketing, drip campaigns, certain things that you might automate. And then it almost gives you more time to then really make sure that the person to person interaction or the personalized email gets more attention from the actual salesperson.
Exactly. That's a good point. It could be the initial outreach, but then maybe in a sequence of once someone opens an email or responds to an email or clicks on a link, then the human takes over. There's ways to leverage it in a number of different ways based on individual needs, but you're right. It can be a great way to scale effectively, but you don't want to be overly reliant on it to the point where you're not talking to a human being until that first
Yeah,
discovery meeting.
yeah. So let me ask you this, another question related to sort of this concept of non-AI. As we think about as we think about business, as we think about why we're doing business, right? Um, what do you think about people um, kind of playing into in sales? It's kind of one of those interesting places. You got to work with everyone. What do you think about people presenting their spirituality or their perspective in the workplace? Have you encountered that? And what's your advice for salespeople who are, in terms of a way to embrace people in a way that's helpful?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think it could be important. I think people bringing they say that their authentic selves to work it can be valuable as long as it's just done in a way that's not infringing on anyone else or judging someone that might be different than you. That kind of goes back to what I said before about taking that trip. You could have a different sense of spirituality or faith or whatever it may be than someone else. And I think people should be free to express that, but in a non-judgmental way. Understand people, use it as a way to kind of build bridges as opposed to imposing that on someone that might see things a different way. But I think it's always good to introduce ideas and really be yourself. And that's important to you. Incorporate that into how you serve other people and how you treat your colleagues, your customers, partners, things of that nature. It can be very important and helpful. Again, done the right way.
Yeah, I agree. I look forward to the time when someone expresses that they have a faith and we just go, "Oh, wow, that's how you love. That's awesome." Right? And we move on. Like
Right. It can be a part of you, and it's not necessarily all of you. You're still a human being. That's a piece of you, and it's great. I like to learn about people. I mean, one of the main reasons I'm in sales in my career is I love talking to people, learning about people. Don't have to always have the same views on everything, but it's important. I mean, to be open to that, and it can be an interesting way of learning. And I think a lot of times people are like, can be offended if you want to know about them. So you got to be careful how you ask questions about other people because they might be not want to talk about it. But I love learning about people, but you have to be delicate about how you ask questions because you don't want to touch upon an area that someone might not want to talk about.
Absolutely. No, I can see that. It's just such a wonderfully human thing to have these different aspects to who we are. And we work so much, right? So much of our time at work. It's nice to be known no matter where you are. So it's all about the questions, is I think what you really pointed out, which is
Right.
totally true. So tell me, Michael, in the audience, give us a sense of like, it's not always great. It's not always amazing as a business owner. It's also challenging. What's one of the areas that you find challenging in the work that you do?
Yeah, I think I'm a certified partner of Aslan. So I have my own business, but I'm certified in Aslan programs, work closely with them, primarily go to market as Aslan. They have a lot of great resources for partners like myself. But essentially, I still am my own small business. And there's a lot of competing things for my time, scheduling. I'm doing things that I hadn't done in the past as an employee. I mean, the financial management, the marketing, the networking, things of that. This is a lot to take on. And we're in a highly competitive industry. I mean, sales training can be very valuable when done right and
Mhm.
reinforced, but it's not necessarily always in the top of everyone's list. Even if they really need it and their performance is inconsistent or weak, sometimes people internally, it could be an ego issue. A sales executive, an internal sales enablement person might feel threatened by an outside trainer or coach. We need to make them feel that
Sure.
we're there to help them and partner and make them better as well, as opposed to any threat to them. And there's just I guess the prevalence of an online world, the virtual world, it's easier entry than ever. So there's a lot of new entrants and competitors. So we do face a lot of competition, and not only being part of an established company that's very well recognized like Aslan's great, but there's a lot of other great tools out there, and we're not always the right fit for every individual company. And part of it, going back to being other centered, our goal, and we think all salespeople's goal should really be to help potential customers understand their options, the pros and cons of each, and empower them to make a decision that is best for them. Hopefully it's you if you are in fact a good fit for them, but it might not always be the case. So having to accept that, and we're not going to win every opportunity, even if we feel we should or want to.
Right. Right. And that's Totally true, right? So we're all in this mode of figuring out the next way to market, the next way to meet and connect with our clients, and there is a lot of competition that's out there and growing. So it's important to find ways that creatively to solve these challenges. I've really had a great time the last 2.5 years, finding so many different ways to market, right, for entrepreneurs and business owners. And I found several that I find are very effective. But it's a journey, right? And it really is. And it's always changing.
Oh,
It's an
absolutely.
always changing landscape. So, share with the audience a final thought on, hey, if you can avoid this mistake, if you can learn this lesson faster, what is it that you would share from something you've learned that could accelerate someone else's experience?
Yeah, I think being accepting change and being realistic about the environment you're in now, and not what you want it to be or wish it was or was 2 years ago or 10 years ago. What I mean by that is that experienced salespeople like myself and others have a lot to offer, but sometimes we can be set in ways, or get stubborn and say, why can't it be like it was 10, 20 years ago? What I mean by that is that, think of an example of calling prospects. I mean, when I started in sales, almost everyone was at a desk. They had their own office, landline, phone. They didn't work from home. They had a cell
Right.
phone. They didn't use it for work. It was just, maybe in their desk for the day. And you could get people live. And email was newer, but so people's inboxes weren't flooded with 10,000 emails a week, or whatever it may be. And
Mm-hmm.
the point is, things change. People are cluttered, and they're people. There's so much competition for people's attention today, and you have
Mm-hmm.
to accept that. And like, I love talking to people. I wish I could get more people on the phone line every day, even if they're hanging up on me once in a while. That's fine. I kind of miss those days, right? That's just not the reality anymore. I mean, cold calling people, it's still important. It can be effective and actually can be a differentiator now because few people do it or want to do it. But you're not going to get, no matter how good your emails are, you're not going to get the same open rates you got 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Or you can make, it's not about volume now, it's about quality. And you have to be willing to evolve and change with new technology. You mentioned AI, and that wasn't really much on most people's minds even 2 years ago, really. So you have to be willing to continue to learn and accept that newest thing isn't always the greatest thing. It isn't always better, but certain things are never going to go back to the way they were. And the sooner you embrace that and realize that, the better you'll be off, the better off you'll be.
True. You just accept, move on, and keep going, right? And then learn the next thing because it goes fast. It really does. So we also have to love it, embrace it, and run into it. So
Yeah, it's
thank you
absolutely.
so much. Thank you so very much. Now, if people want to get a hold of you, they can look you up on LinkedIn, I believe. Correct?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I mean, don't hesitate, even if you don't know me, of course, to connect, send me an invitation, maybe write a quick note. Michael DeLeo, I'm there under Aslan Sales Training in my own company, Sales Org Solutions. Probably the best way to reach me. And even if you just want to talk and share ideas or have questions, it doesn't have to be a formal business conversation. I'm happy to meet more people and see if and how we can help each other out. So thanks so
Awesome.
much
Well,
for having
thanks
me
so
on. I
much.
really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for being here. And I will remind you all to consider greatly. We're in a new age. AI is going to change a lot of things, and you get to determine how you're going to respond to that, as we were just saying, and and make sure that it's working for us as humans.
Exactly.
And
Not the other way
if you
around.
want,
Yeah.
right? Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll talk again soon, audience. Take
Appreciate
care.
it.